If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. We're going to be taking a look at what he's all noticed on the prop front with him. We're also going to be talking about a few games that he is liking for Monday, just some of the things that he is bullish/bearish on in this great game. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please just send these into the timeline. Otherwise, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they're making sure that bettors are able to access the funds that they want, and whenever they want to be able to access those funds, they're able to 24/7, 365 on leap years, 366 days out of the year. If you go to edgeboost.bet, type in the promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G, that's going to get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Sunday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams all a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Colorado Rockies won a road game against the Atlanta Braves. You don't see that very often. 10-1 the final is. Grant Holmes actually a really nice start in this one for the Atlanta Braves. 6 1/3 innings, 15 punch-outs. He allows 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, and he takes a loss as he does allow a home run in this one to Ryan McMahon, his 10th home run of the campaign. And Austin Gomber does not get Gombered out. 5 scoreless innings. From there, the bullpen of the Rockies was rock solid. Jake Bird gives up a run in an inning, but Tyler Kinley, Juan Mejia, Ryan Rollison are able to give you a scoreless inning. And for the Atlanta Braves, this bullpen was not good. Angel de los Santos gives up 4 runs and he doesn't get it out. Jose Ruiz, he gives up 3 runs at his inning of work. Aaron Bummer was not a bummer. He was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Luke Williams, the backup shortstop, was able to give you a scoreless inning. So the Atlanta Braves 31-39, and they just lost to the Colorado Rockies. Not looking great there. Now, what is looking pretty rock solid, how about the Boston Red Sox being able to have a little bit of a come up? They're back above 500. They take down the New York Yankees by a count of 2-0. Early on during the season, they were looking like one of the bigger disappointments in all of baseball, but how about the start that you got from Brian Bayos? 7 scoreless innings, 8 punch-outs. From there, Brendan Bernardino, Garrett Woodlock combined for 2 scoreless innings. Rafael Devers goes deep off of Mad Max Fried, 15th home run on the campaign. Fried, once again, a solid start, 9 punch-outs. He allowed 2 runs in 7 innings, but no offense to be able to help him out. Mark Leiter Jr. does not get lighted up. He was able to give you a scoreless inning, but a relatively solid performance there. The Sacramento A's have been your best over team in the American League, but they do play an under on Sunday. They take it to the Kansas City Royals by a count of 3-2. As for the Athletics, you had a really good start here from Jeffrey Springs, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Note with the Sacramento A's pitchers, big time home and road splits for them. TJ McFarland and Tyler Ferguson combined for 2 scoreless innings. Mason Miller, a scoreless inning, and for the Athletics, pair of home runs as Nick Kurtz is able to get his 6th home run of the season, and Austin Wins, 2nd time in the series, home run number 5 of the campaign for him. As for the Royals, Noah Cameron did his part. 5 scoreless innings, knocked out at his start early, but, he didn't give up any runs. John Schreiber from there gives up one of those bombs, 2 runs in total in 2/3 of an inning. Anel Zerpa along Carlos Estevez both give you an inning. Estevez gives up a solo home run along the way, and Lucas Ursedge 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but rough one for a Royals team averaging 3 runs per game at home. That is dead last in the big leagues. Not a lot of offense out there in Houston, but the Astros, they find a way to get the job done. 2-1 the final is Simeon Woods Richardson, rock solid start, 5 scoreless innings, and then from there you had Yohan Duran give up a run in an inning, Louis Varland, 2 scoreless innings, Brock and Roll Stewart, a scoreless inning, Cole Sands gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning, Mauricio Dubon, RBI single, ends this one, and Brooks Lee, lone form of offense for the Twins in this one. It was a lone form of offense for them, I believe, on Saturday as well. Home run number 7 of the season, home run number 2 of the season, goes deep off for Brandon Walter, gives up that solo home run, 6 2/3 innings, 9 strikeouts, and that 1 run allowed. Sean Dubin, pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Josh Hader, scoreless inning to get the W, and Bennett Sosa was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. Not a lot doing for the Brewers at home, but just enough to be able to get the job done over the St. Louis Cardinals. 3-2 the final. Brewers, by the way, bottom 5 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game at home, as Ivan Herrera does take Jared Koenig deep for his 8th home run of the campaign, but a nice start out of Quinn Priester. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Koenig gives up that solo home run in 2/3 of an inning, but Abner Uribe in a scoreless inning, you had Trevor McGill give you a scoreless inning, and Nick Mears out of the bullpen scoreless, and Christian Yelich. This team has really been coming and going with his bat. 14th home run season off of Miles Michaelis, who gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. John King was not the king, giving up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Jojo Romero was able to go in for an out of the bullpen scoreless, and Kyle Leahy a scoreless inning, but not a lot doing for the St. Louis Cardinals at the plate. Nothing doing for the New York Mets as they get swept by the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Rays are all of a sudden the hot show Rays. 9-0, they take down the New York Mets. The Boz, Shane Boz, who had been awful going into the start, giving up 3+ runs in 6 out of his last 7. Well, he goes 6 2/3 innings scoreless despite walking 4. Mason Montgomery out of the bullpen, Cole Sulzer out of the bullpen scoreless, Eric Orze 1 2/3 innings scoreless, and Junior Caminero is able to go deep for his 17th home run season. That comes off of Ryan Stanek, who gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning, and Griffin Canning, it looked like he was due for aggression, and boy was he. 6 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Max Kranick was able to go for 2 scoreless innings. You had from there Tyson Adcock be able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Jacob Young, he was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless as well, but nothing doing for the Metropolitans at the plate. Not a lot doing for the Cubs either. They've been one of your best over teams in all baseball, but they do find a way to persevere over the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3-2 the final. Game was 2-2 after the end of the first inning, and it took the 10th inning for the Cubs to be able to have a walk-off winner as Ian Happ, an RBI single, ends it. Mitch Keller comes down after that first inning. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. Colin Ray comes down after that first inning. He gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. And then for the Cubs, Caleb Thielbar, Genesis Cabrera, Ryan Presley, Chris Flexen, all on a scoreless inning. Cubs, by the way, sub-1 bullpen ERA in their last 35 days. Isaac Madsen, 2 scoreless innings. Stanley Santana, a scoreless inning. And then David Bednar, he boops a Bednar, gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning, as you had the Philadelphia Phillies absolutely lambaste the Toronto Blue Jays. 11-4 the final. As for the Jays, this is not what they were hoping for out of one Jose Barrios. 6 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, including a home run to one Mr. Alec Boehm, 7th home run of the campaign. Then Mr. Eric Swanson give it up to Nick Castellanos. Castellanos, his 7th home run of the season, and Swanson gives up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning of work, rocking a 15-19 ERA since coming off the injured list. That's not great. Mason Fluharty out of the bullpen scoreless, and Spencer Turnbull in long relief, 2 1/3 innings. He allows a run in. For the Phillies, he had Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler doing a nice job of Whelan and Dylan. 2 runs, 1 of which was allowed in 6 innings, 1 of which was earned, I should say. Tanner Banks, 2 runs allowed in his inning of work, but you had from there Jordan Romano, Max Laser, both be able to end a scoreless inning. You also had a nice explosion of offense out there in Baltimore. 11-2, the Orioles are able to lambaste the LA Angels. As for the Halos, Yusei Kikuchi, I say this guy had 10 strikeouts, but gave up 5 runs, 3 of which were earned in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run going deep for Baltimore. It was home run number 4 of the season for Ron Urias, and then Kenley Jansen gives one up to Jordan Westberg, 7th home run of the season. Connor Brogdon gives one up to Gary Sanchez, a grand slam, 2nd home run of the campaign. Brogdon gives up 4 runs in 1 1/3 innings, and Kenley Jansen 2 runs allowed in his inning of work. Nolan Schunel was able to go deep off of Scott Blewett, who he didn't do a bad job of blowing it. He gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 2/3 innings as the opener, including that home run. From there, Cade Povich, 3 2/3 innings scoreless. Andrew Kittredge, Ynier Cano, don't you know, they both gave you a scoreless inning, and Sir Anthony Dominguez was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. For the Detroit Tigers, they lose the series to the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati was on to an 8-4 win over Detroit. As for the opener for Detroit, Tyler Holney was able to go for a scoreless inning. You had Sawyer Gibson Long as the long guy, not be too long for this game. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 3 innings. From there, you did have Chase Lee lend a scoreless inning. Brent Herder, an unearned run, give it up in his inning work, but Will Vest, 3 unearned runs allowed in his 2/3 of an inning of work, as you had a trio of errors out there. there, 2 committed by the pitchers, and Herder Long, Gibson Long, and then Avi Baez had a bad one out there in the field as well. Brendan Enifee then gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, including a home run to Ellie De La Cruz, second of the series, 16th home run of the campaign, and Wade Miley had himself a party out there in Detroit, gives up 2 solo home runs over the course of 5 innings of work as going deep for Detroit. Jahmai Jones getting his second home run season, and Wencio Perez, 4th home run of the campaign. From there, the bullpen holds it down. Graham Ashcraft was a load of Ashcraft, giving up 2 runs in an inning, but Emilio Pagan, Tony Santillan, Scott Barlow, they're all able to end a scoreless inning, and then you did see a lot of scoreless innings lent out there in the great state of Texas as the Rangers, they do find a way to persevere. They get the job done over the Chicago White Sox, this by a count of 2-1 as Aaron Savali's debut with the White Sox, not too bad here, gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Dan Altavilla along Cam Bouger combined for 2 scoreless innings. Steven Wilson and Brandon Iser, they piecemeal together a scoreless inning, and you did have Miguel Vargas go deep for the Chicago White Sox, 10th home run of the season. That comes off of Jacob Webb. He was able to go in for 1 1/3 innings, allowed that solo home run, and Kumar Rocker gets a start here. Boy, was he rocking and rolling after a rough start to the season. 5 scoreless innings out of him. You were able to get 5 outs out of the bullpen, out of Cole Winn as well, and then the Texas Rangers, they piecemeal together the 9th inning, and they win this game despite leaving 11 men on base, going 0 of 7 with men in scoring position. You had the Miami Marlins be able to find a way to be able to get a win over the Washington Nationals, this by a count of 3-1, as for Erie Perez, not long for this game, giving up 1 run in 4 innings, but Lake Bakar, Tyler Phillips, they both had 2 scoreless innings, and you're able to get a scoreless inning as well as Freddie Tannock was able to come in and do a solid job there for the Marlins. They do leave 10 men on base, but yeah, Dave Myers come up with a big hit off of Mackenzie Gore, 4th home run season as Gore does get minorly gored, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Ryan Lotus gives up a run in an inning, Jackson Rutledge, Cole Henry, they both supply a scoreless inning, but for the Washington Nationals, 0 of 9 with men in scoring position, and they left 9 men on base, so that was a little bit less than tremendous for them. The Slam Diego Padres were certainly able to slam the Arizona Diamondbacks, this by a count of 8-2, as for the Padres, pair of home runs in this one. Jake Cronenworth, his 5th home run of the campaign, and you had Mr. Elias Diaz be able to get his 4th home run of the campaign. Anthony DeSclafani came out of the bullpen in long relief and gave up that home run as he goes for 2 1/3 innings. He allows 2 runs, both of which were earned as Merrill Kelly, rough start in this one, 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, you had 5 outs out of the bullpen from Taylor Scott. He gives up a pair of runs for the Arizona Diamondbacks and low form of offense for the Saints. And Eugenio Suarez, his 21st home run in the campaign, as for the Padres, Nick Pivetta gives up that home run, but overall rock solid, gives up 2 runs over the course of 7 innings. And then from there, Sean Reynolds, Andrian Morejon are both able to give you a scoreless inning for the Seattle Mariners. They get the job done against the Cleveland Guardians, and they win that series 6-0, the final in this one. As for Cleveland, Luis Ortiz, 6 runs allowed in 6 innings, so lots of 6s here. He gave up 5 walks as well as he allowed a home run to J.P. Crawford in grand fashion, 6th home run in the campaign. And Emerson Hancock, 7 scoreless innings, allowed just 2 hits, very good there. Edward Bazardo, Casey Lugamina from there, both able to give you a scoreless inning. And then Nick Enright, Jacob Junis for the Cleveland Guardians, they both lend a scoreless inning. And do have to do this a little bit ahead of time because I had the show cashing out on VSiN, so I did have to do this while Sunday Night Baseball is still going on. But prior to the start of Sunday Night Baseball for the San Francisco Giants, Kyle Harrison was supposed to go on the bump, gets traded for Rafael Devers. The Giants also trade away Jordan Hicks and a pair of prospects, including their first-round pick from the year 2024, so very intriguing there. James Tibbs was a part of that deal, so yeah, it's Sean Hegeley and said, get the start as I'm doing this. The Giants were able to put up a 3 spot and have a 3-2 lead as I am doing this, so we shall see how things materialize there, but certainly a wild day in baseball to say the least. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball, it's been a very underwhelming season. The under is sitting at north of 53% with Sunday Night Baseball pending, with the unders hitting at a 53.1%, 544 unders, 481 overs. Meanwhile, moneyline favorites hitting at about 57.8% for the season, 613 and 447. If you look at the last 7 days in baseball, favorites have done quite well, 55 and 35 on the moneyline, 61.1%, and the overs are starting to catch a little bit of steam, 48 overs to 40 under. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do dive in with our good friend Matt Josephs, look at some of the games for Monday. Now, keep in mind, we did this before the Rafael Devers trade, but we're going to be talking with him about that and some of the teams that he's feeling bullish and bearish on as well. That's on the flip side right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VC Family Podcast.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hi, we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, aboard. He does such a great job over at the Prop Queens website and all that she's doing with regards to her podcast. He appears multiple times over there a week. On top of that, he does a great job with the show Border to Border. That's out there with ESPN Radio in Richmond. Tremendous handicapper that you're able to follow him on Twitter/X at Mid-Major Matt. Also does a great job on the college football and college basketball side of things as well. And Matt, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Always great to have you aboard, Matt. And Matt, how about if we take a look at what we've gotten here thus far in baseball? Because now we're about 2.5 months through the season. Now it's not one of those cases where it's too early to make sweeping judgments on some of these teams, what have you. How have you taken a look at things here early on during the season, and what has really been standing out to you?
It's the lack of true tremendous teams, I would say, and a lack of true consistent tremendous teams. Like, look, obviously the Tigers are 46-27, the Mets are 45-27, but as we're speaking, the Mets just got swept at home by the Tampa Bay Rays. My Phillies, of course, they've played really well, like one of the best teams in the league, and then like one of the worst teams in the league. And of course, you know, it's just one of those things where we all kind of expected, like, hey, the Dodgers were going to be this awesome team. They have everybody. They have all this starting pitching. They're going to run away from everything. And of course, they're only up one game on their division, and they don't even have the best record in the National League. So I think it's just the kind of, we have really good teams, but I don't think we have this like super team that's kind of running away with everything.
Yep, absolutely. And it's actually been a case where the Detroit Tigers has been that best team in all of baseball with regards to their record. And how do you take a look at this team? Because I think that it's very safe to say this is not like some sort of a super team, and this is not a team that we're going to be putting in like the 20s and 30s Yankees category or anything like that. But it does feel like they've got a lot of balance, and this does feel like a team that's pretty stable, and they are built for the long haul.
Yeah, it's a team that has obviously the best pitcher in baseball right now in Skubal. He has been absolutely amazing. Jack Flaherty has been very good at times. They've got their other guys that they use openers for and then put in the middle of the game, and Sawyer Gibson-Long and Kiter Montero and stuff like that. But this is a team that has just enough hitting and really good pitching, and you're going to have to wonder if that pitching continues and sustains itself through, you know, July and August and September, and then gets itself ready for October, where it has to be really good. Because, you know, how many reliable bats are there in this lineup? There are, you know, one or two, maybe three or so, but can they get the contributions from everybody once the playoffs come, which I think they can. I certainly think they can. It's just, you know, October is a whole different thing.
Oh, no doubt about it. And certainly with this Tigers team, they've been much better offensively than they were a season ago. And that bullpen pitching, I think, is going to be so paramount for them as well. And that's one thing that your favorite team is going to need to pick up a little bit, Matt, because I know that you're a little bit of a Philadelphia Phillies fan. We'll dive in a minute on that game against the Miami Marlins for Monday. But what have you noticed out of the Philadelphia Phillies, where it feels like other than the bullpen pitching, things are starting to come together for them a little bit, and they're coming off of what I thought was a very nice series win against the Blue Jays over the weekend?
Well, I think the trade deadline is very important for them. They cannot win a World Series with this outfield. Granted, look, Brandon Marsh is hitting ball better right now. Max Kepler had the big home run on Saturday to get them the victory, but like these guys aren't good enough. And so you have to wonder if Dave Dombrowski, who's been very underwhelming the last two trade deadlines, is going to actually go and get something of substance. But the other thing is, you know, they're an older team, so they have to keep some of their prospects, the Aiden Millers, the Andrew Painters, the Mick Abels, and things like that. So it'll be a fascinating trade deadline. Does Dave Dombrowski go for lower level guys without giving up prospects, or does he trade some of the prospects and give up some of the future for somebody of substance for this team? Yes, the bullpen is an issue, but like, here's the thing. You can move a Ranger Suarez to the bullpen. You can move somebody else if you needed to and just rely on a starting pitching staff that is one of the best in baseball. And of course, the lineup is very good at times. Look, right now they're in one of those stretches where they're hitting everything and they're scoring a bunch of runs and everything, but there are certain stretches, go back to that Pirates series just a couple of weeks ago in Pittsburgh, where they couldn't hit anything. So it's all about, are they hot in the postseason, or are they cold in the postseason? And that will also determine whether or not they go really far.
No question about it. With this Philadelphia Phillies team, being able to mix and match with regards to pitching is going to be big. And I think what else is going to be interesting is to see how the hitters not named Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper fare, because Harper currently on the injured list. Team is looking to mix and match. And I mean, we've seen a few of these younger guys be able to step up a little bit more. How do you take a look at more of that, shall we say, top/bottom of the lineup outside of Schwarber? Because I do think that that's a very interesting dynamic for the Phillies, where there's been a little bit less power than what I expected this year.
Yeah, that's for sure. They are not hitting as many home runs as they have in the past. They used to be a team that just basically relied on the home run, and they never were able to manufacture runs. You know, it's an interesting team. It's so funny because when they're hot, everybody's hot. And when they're cold, everybody's cold. And so right now, they're hitting really well. Alec Boehm is a guy who's hitting well at 283. Castellanos, not necessarily the most ideal cleanup hitter, but he's hitting all right now. You know, the guy that you're going to have to watch out for, and a guy I thought was going to be a whole lot better, is Bryson Stott. You know, Bryson Stott had a couple of good years, and then last year he was awful, but they attributed it to a wrist injury early in the season. And now we all thought, okay, well, he's going to play better now, and he's hitting 236 so far this season, so he has to be better. You know, will Otto Kemp continue to hit for the Phillies? He hit a lot in AAA. They brought him up with the Bryce Harper injury. You know, it's just one of those things where this team's going to get really hot, and everybody's going to hit like they are right now, and then they're going to get really cold, and they're going to hit nothing. And that's the all or nothing nature of this team right now.
Yeah, it has been interesting to look at, because on Sunday they were able to put up 11 runs against Jose Barrios and company, so they did a nice job there, but has been very hit or miss with this Phillies team, as we do have Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And right now we're starting to see openers with regards to this Phillies versus Marlins game from Monday, with total at an 8.5. And right now the Phillies are minus 122 favorites, with Mick Abel going up against Sandy Alcantara. And I'm not sure how you view this team. I know you're a little bit pessimistic on some of the things about the Philadelphia Phillies, but minus 122 just seems really low considering how bad Sandy Alcantara's been this year.
Mick Abel, I think, is the part of it that people are trying to figure out a little bit. He's made 3 starts so far. He was awesome against the Pirates at home. That makes sense. The Pirates are a very hit or miss team. Then he pitched all right in Toronto. Didn't have as many strikeouts, but held the Jays to 1 run and 3 hits and 5 1/3. And then he got roughed up a little bit by Chicago. And I think that kind of scares people a little bit. Hitting on the road against this Marlins team. It's a Marlins team that, by the way, you may not have heard a lot of their players in the lineup, but this is a Marlins team that's making a lot of contact right now. They are very heavy to the under when it comes to the K-props. 9 unders and 2 overs in the last 11 games. And this is against some very good starting pitchers. 4 strikeouts against Mitch Keller, 5 against Mackenzie Gore on Sunday, which is a very high number for some teams, but like they only had 5 strikeouts. The number was 7.5. So I expect that Mick Abel is going to have to, get around some contact here. This is a Marlins lineup that's very young. Heck, a lot of those guys might have been in AAA and have seen this guy before, so they might be familiar with him. So I can understand the low number. Miami has been a bit of a troubling spot at times for the Phillies in past years. Alcantara, I think we're kind of waiting for to get back to what he was. I have a preseason bet that he gets 8 wins or more, over 8.5 wins, because I figured by now maybe he would have been traded, and certainly think he will be traded at some point. But I think this number's justified with a rookie pitcher in a place that the Phillies have had some trouble in the past.
Yep, it is going to be interesting to see how the Phillies are going to be able to fare on Monday. And with Mick Abel, have liked what I've seen out of him thus far and was very good at the AAA level. This has been a team that's not been very good. The Colorado Rockies, which they put up a 10 spot on Sunday, goes to show you that even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Now we're finding them against the Washington Nationals, with it being Carson Palmquist against Jake Irvin. And you know as well as I do, Jake Irvin has not been lighting the world on fire and has not been getting a lot of strikeouts this year. Total is 9, and with the Nationals right around minus $2 favorites. If you're looking to lay a run line, that's right around about even money. How do you take a look at this one with Rockies team that they've been playing a little bit better over the last few weeks, but I still can't take anything below $2 in this case with the Colorado Rockies.
I certainly can't do that either. Jake Irvin's a guy that I feel like is very hittable. I think that you maybe want to look at, a Colorado team total over, maybe. You hope they carry over some momentum from Atlanta. Palmquist is an interesting guy. He's been, doing what pitchers do. He's struggling in Coors Field, and he's pitching somewhat better on the road. He had the last road start. He had 8 strikeouts in New York against the Mets in 4 2/3. And this is a Nationals team that, while they are better at making contact versus righties, against lefties, they're averaging over 5 strikeouts per game. So if we see a 3.5 from Palmquist, which is certainly a possibility, might look over on his strikeouts. The last couple lefties against this team, you have Peterson with 6 strikeouts in a complete game. Latz had 7 strikeouts in 3 1/3. Corbin had 2, but Boyd had 6. Ray had 7. Povich had 9. So I might look at a Colorado team total over here potentially, and then I might look at a Palmquist K-prop over if it's 3.5 with reasonable juice.
with Palmquist, he does have good swing and miss stuff. Problem is, when he doesn't get those swings and misses, the ball goes about 500 miles in the air. So that has been the issue for Palmquist. So certainly, I do think that the Washington Nationals should be able to put up some runs in this one. And I think that this is really interesting as well because, Matt, you have a lot of the same, shall we say, thoughts with regards coming off the guys coming off the injured list as I do. And Logan Gilbert, he's a rock solid pitcher. Prior to going on the injured list, looked really good this year, but he has been off for about like 7-8 weeks, and now has to face off against the Boston Red Sox, and we're finding the Seattle Mariners at north of minus 170 favorites with a total of 7.5. I'm not sure you're taking a look at this one, but with regards to the Boston Red Sox, it's rough to be able to back Lucas Giolito, but this number seems like it's starting to get a little bit out of whack for the Seattle Mariners.
I can't back Lucas Giolito, even against a matchup like this. I'm not scared of Seattle's lineup, but I need to see it more from him. The important thing to look at always when these guys are coming off the injury list, how many rehab starts did they make? How deep did they go in those rehab starts? What were the headlines? Was it more they were just throwing pitches, or they were trying to fine-tune some of their off-speed stuff and things like that? So Gilbert has had 3 rehab outings. His first one was an inning and 2/3. His second was 3 innings. His third was 5 innings. So I wouldn't expect 6 or 7 innings. And this is a guy that if the books price the outs number a little bit too high, I might look at the under here. I know that's kind of nerve-wracking because normally when you look at Logan Gilbert, you know he's going to probably go 6 or 7 innings. But considering he only went 5 in his last rehab start and, pitching in the majors, a little bit different than pitching in the minors, he did have 6 strikeouts here. Normally, I kind of look at the under for strikeouts here. When you have a guy coming off of an injury stint, the Red Sox have made a little bit contact as of late, although, Zach Littell had 6, Pepio had 9, Will Warren had 6. So this is a really tough one to kind of figure out here, especially with the books pricing it the way they will. If this number is too high on the outs, I'm looking at the under here because I don't think this is a guy who's going to go 6 or 7 innings like he normally does.
Yep, I think that that's very well said by you. And then we've really got one other game on the board because with the Dodgers game, along with Orioles versus Rays and Astros versus Athletics, and the A's have not been announcing any of their starters overnight, so that has made it completely impossible to bet them until the day of the game. But that said, we do have Yankees versus Angels, with it being Clark Schmidt and Jose Soriano. And I look at this total of 8.5 and recognize that the Yankees had a rough series out there against the Boston Red Sox, but this does feel good, like a good bounce back for them. And I'm sure that you're aware, as I am, that the LA Angels very much an all or nothing team where they're either going to hit a home run or they're going to strike out, and they're not going to give you much in between.
The Yankees offense is cold right now. The last 4 starters have given up just 1 run combined, and that was Crochet gave up a run in the first game of the Red Sox series. Seth Lugo, Dobbins, and Bello all shut them out. This is one of those things where you hope that the Yankees lineup wakes up. You hope that the Yankees should be able to take advantage. Look, in theory, they're going to see Soriano, Hendricks, and Kochanowicz in this series, and Tyler Anderson. You would think that they're going to have a lot of success here, especially since they recently saw a lot of these guys. 3 starting pitchers, or at least 2 of them that they saw in Anaheim just a couple of weeks ago, so they should have some relatively new information on them. But it's just one of those things where I kind of want to see the Yankees start to hit before I start to figure them out. As you said, these are starting pitchers where they should find some success here. And I like Clark Schmidt. The interesting thing is Clark Schmidt only had 4 strikeouts in Anaheim a couple weeks ago against this same lineup, who does strike out a lot. And since then, he had 8 against the Guardians and 7 against the Royals, 2 teams that also very good with contact. So can we see that Clark Schmidt continue? Can he get some more strikeouts against this Angels lineup? But, we have some data points in terms of recent matchups between the two that we can certainly look at.
Yep, we certainly do have that, and I think that this is going to be a really fun one in general with the New York Yankees and the way that they have been able to hit all season long, and now we are going to be getting some warmer weather out there in the northeast part of the country, so we'll see if that elevates them moving forward, as we do have our good friend Matt Joseph, aka Mid-Major Matt, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And just in general, is there a team or two right now that you're feeling a little bit more bullish/bearish on, and is there a team that you think might be having a little bit of value, whether that be from a game-to-game perspective or perhaps a little bit more in the futures market?
I joked on my radio show, I was like, if the Braves lose to the Rockies, I'm done. Because I've told people, I'm like, look, I still think the Braves can make the playoffs. I still think the Braves can win this division as the number gets larger and larger away from first place. But maybe this is just a cursed season for Atlanta. And, next year there's more value in them winning the division. A team I really have a good grasp on right now is the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins strike out a lot against lefties. They don't strike out a lot against righties. They have one of the most pronounced splits in Major League Baseball. Against righties this year, they they averaged 4.07 strikeouts per game, 39 unders and 17 overs. Against left-handed starting pitchers, 8 overs, 4 unders. They're averaging 6.5 strikeouts per game. So I'm not surprised that Brandon Walter had a really good game against them on Sunday. So this is a team that I'm kind of figuring out right now. Now, granted, look, Hunter Brown was amazing. He had 12 strikeouts on Saturday. But like before that, they had done a great job with regards to contact. So I know we're not talking necessarily about Tuesday's games, but when they go to Cincinnati and they're going to probably see Abbott and Lodolo those first 2 games of the series, there might be some value on these 2 pitchers over on their strikeouts because this is a Minnesota team that strikes out against lefties. And I'll just say this, and I don't know how much you notice this sort of thing. There's a lot of teams in Major League Baseball who I feel like strike out a lot against left-handed starting pitching. There's a lot of teams that I'm looking at overs when it comes to the left side of things because they're just not doing very well against them, and they are doing really well against these teams against the right side.
I've noticed this too. I don't know if it's just a shortage of lefties that we've got in the big leagues or what have you, but there has been some big giant righty-lefty splits this far this season. I always hone in on home and road splits personally, but I've been able to look at righty-lefty splits a little bit more as well, and I'm so glad that you pointed that out. With regards to what we're going to be getting on Monday, it's a little bit of a bare board, but you know what, Matt? I know that you're going to have a bunch of great plays with regards to the slate. I know that you're doing an incredible job of just being able to seek out these props. You're doing a great job of just being able to find great angles in general to be able to bet. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, at Mid-Major Matt on Twitter and on the Prop Queen podcast, usually on Mondays and Fridays, just giving out some information and helping people out. And look, this is a small board, 7 games. And as you said, there's a lot of undecideds on there. So don't be afraid if you need to pass or just play 1 or 2 things. Best thing is the books have to put out all these numbers. We do not have to play them, and we can just wait until Tuesday when everybody else is playing. So tweet me at Mid-Major Matt if you have any sort of questions. We all have the same goal. We all want to beat the books. All my plays are tracked on the Action Network app, and I post them up on my Twitter account so you can see them as well. And of course, college football is coming, and looking forward to diving into the win totals because we've been having some very profitable win total seasons the last couple of years in college football. And of course, college basketball, the transfer portal never stops, it seems. So we certainly have to keep one eye on that.
2,569 guys entered in the transfer portal this offseason, Matt. My goodness. The list of guys that didn't enter into the transfer portal, far shorter than the list of guys that did. So, yeah, we certainly do need to be able to gauge that. And Matt, he's doing a great job on that front. He's doing a great job on the baseball front, college football, you name it, he does it. And every single time he joins me on such great insight. So, big thanks to Matt for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt. Every single time he joins me, lends such amazing insights. Did so once again today, so a big thanks to Matt for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we're going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games. We would have the Interleague games at the bottom, but we don't have any Interleague games. So let's get things started with 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road. They're facing off against the Miami Marlins. Sandy Alcantara is on the bump for Miami. Mick Abel, he is trying to be Mr. Abel for the Philadelphia Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies between minus 122 to a minus 130 favorite, between plus 110 to plus 115. That number on Miami, with 8.5 being the total. Unders between minus 115 to a minus 120, and the overs anywhere between even and minus 105. And I'm going to be willing to go with the Philadelphia Phillies here. I set them at a minus 174 on the money line. Like, for Sandy Alcantara, his last two starts have been a little bit better, but my goodness, the guy is right now rocking a 7.13 ERA, actually 7.14 ERA, 4.4 walks allowed per 9 innings. The command has not been there. He's not giving you a lot of strikeouts. He's backed up by a bullpen that is 26th in the big leagues in terms of ERA as well. Right now, this Miami Marlins bullpen has been very rough, to say the least. They're starting to find their way with a few guys like Ronnie Enriquez has been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA. He's been able to do an okay job of holding down the fort. You've been able to have Lake Bakar give you a few better innings recently, but guys like a George Soriano have been absolutely terrible for this team. Tyler Phillips has been a bit of a roll of the dice as well. I do like Anthony Bender in the back end, but you don't have a lot there. And for the Miami Marlins, right now they are dead last in the National League in terms of home runs per at bat at home as well. It's not like you're getting a lot of offense out of a team that is currently in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Now, Dane Myers is hitting at 333, and you do have guys that are moving the line. Like Augustin Ramirez has been able to give you 9 home runs this year. Alberto Hernandez, a young guy that they called up to the big league level. It's a small sample size of, I believe, now 12 games, but it actually has been able to give you a little bit of production. So, I mean, that helps you out a scotch. But that said, for the Miami Marlins, you've only got one guy with a double-figure amount of bombs. Kyle Stowers, 345 on base, 10 home runs. Getting back Xavier Edwards at the top of the lineup is nice, but overall, you don't have a very powerful team, to say the least. And then on the flip side, you do have yourself a Philadelphia Phillies unit that is currently without Bryce Harper, but we saw them show their might over the weekend against the Toronto Blue Jays, and I have to love the fact that Kyle Schwarber has just been able to slug this team to victory, as he's right now supplying the team with north of 20 home runs. His on-base percentage hovering in that neighborhood about a 380, and even though you don't have a lot of power outside of Kyle Schwarber, you're starting to get a little bit more out of Nick Castellanos, Alec Boehm. Both of these guys go deep yesterday for 7 home runs. Both of these guys hitting north of a 275. Trey Turner has been able to give you a 360 on base. He's stealing bags. He's hitting a 300. Heck, you've got a little bit of a young guy in Otto Kemp who's been hitting really well for this team at the bottom of the lineup. And with the Philadelphia Phillies, Mick Abel has been very good for them. Now, is there going to be a little bit of regression? Yes, 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings is a concern, but 8.1 strikeouts to 1.8 walks per 9 innings in his 3 starts. He is supplying a sub 240 ERA. I think that he goes out there, dominates this start, and I do think that Alcantara is starting to wise up a little bit. He's starting to look a little bit better, and for the Phillies, with Bryce Harper on the injured list, that does hurt this offense a little bit. So I did set my total at 8.2. You're at the 8.5. I like the under, and I do like the Phillies. I'm personally going to take a shot on them on the run line. Now, in terms of my VSiN write-up, I just gave out the money line, but right now, if you're taking a look at that Philadelphia Phillies run line, you're going to be able to get that at a pretty rock-solid number. Initial opener I was seeing was a plus 134, so do like the Phillies here, money line / run line, along with this total under. 953, 954 on the betting board. The Washington Nationals play the Colorado Rockies. Carson Blomqvist is on the bump for the Rockies, and Jake Irvin goes for Washington, and Washington does find themselves as a pretty nice size favorite here. You're going to be getting them between a minus 195 to a minus 205, between plus 168 to a plus 173. That number on Colorado was seeing an initial run line of the Washington Nationals at a plus 105, and total on this game is 9 over and under, both at minus 110. Sign me up for that run line. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 122. Has Jake Irvin been good this year? No, he has not. He's posting up north of a 4 ERA. It's been all sorts of shaky for him this far this season, as for Mr. Irvin, just not getting a lot of strikeouts. Right now, 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, only about 2.7 walks per 9, but he's giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and I recognize that the Colorado Rockies had that 10 spot yesterday against the Atlanta Braves. I think that was merely a mirage, as for the Atlanta Braves, they did not have any bullpen pitching whatsoever, and entering into the day, got a Colorado Rockies team that was averaging 2.5 runs per game away from dead stinking last in the big leagues, and I do think that they are going to regress back to form once again, as you've got a Colorado Rockies team that on the road entering into yesterday was sitting below the middle sign of 200. You've had Hunter Goodman actually do a really good job of supplying power on the road. He's been able to give the team 8 road home runs thus far this season. Rest of the team, 21 home runs on the road in 37 games. You've got a lot of guys that are just sitting at / below the Mendoza line of a 200 on the road, as you've been having that from one of their new acquisitions in Orlando Arcia. You've got that from Sean Borchard, Ryan McMahon, Brenton Doyle. You just go down the list of guys. They're not producing, and it's just wild. And for the Colorado Rockies, we're starting to see a lot of regression with regards to this bullpen as well. well. That's really been their biggest saving grace, as you've got Jimmy Harriet, Jake Bird, both give you a sub-3.5 ERA. And Juan Mejia, to his credit, he's been able to give you a sub-4 ERA as well, but Seth Alverson up to north of a 4.5 ERA. Zach Ognos rocking now north of a 5 ERA. Ryan Rollison has been posting up north of a 6. Tyler Kinley has been absolutely terrible. And Carson Palmquist, 7.77 ERA. 5 home runs allowed in his 5 starts, only going 22 innings in total. His walks per 9 rate hovering right around 5. So while he's got north of 7 ERA, he still is north of a 6 fielding independent as well, going against a Nationals team that, yeah, it's been a little bit shaky with regards to the offense, but you do have guys that are able to put bat to ball. James Wood has been able to give you good wood. He's been able to hit 16 home runs this season. He's giving you north of 360 on base. You've been able to have CJ Abrams move line, 8 home runs. He's hitting north of 270. You've had a few other guys be able to step up, like an Alex Call, be able to give you about a 380 on base. He's been able to give you a few home runs over the last week or so. Now, Nathaniel Lowe needs to get on base a little bit more along Josh Bell, 8 to 9 home runs apiece, but both of these guys sub 300 on base. But Keibert Ruiz, Jose Tena, both hitting about a 250. They find a way to be a move line. Now the Nationals dead last in the National League in terms of their own bullpen ERAs. You've had a lot of guys like Eduardo Salazar has been absolutely terrible for this team. He's posting up well north of a 5 ERA. Jackson Rutledge up to a 5 ERA. Ryan Lotus is now a guy that they're looking to for innings, but you've got Cole Henry be able to supply a sub 250 ERA. Had to be used yesterday, but Kyle Finnegan, he's going to be on call. He's been able to do a rock solid job as a closer, and I do think that for this Washington Nationals team, they take it to the Colorado Rockies, and I think that the Rockies, after they had an outlier on Sunday, they go back to being the Colorado Rockies. Semi-total at 8.3. I like the under, and I do like the Nationals on the run line. 955, 956 on the betting board. The San Diego Padres hit the road. They're facing off against the LA Dodgers. Dylan Cease is going to be on the bump for the Padres. It's to be determined for the Dodgers, so this game is off the board. Now, for the LA Dodgers, it's right now looking like Matt Sauer is going to be making some sort of bulk appearance. They did this a few days ago. That's right now what CBS Sports is projecting, so I right now have this marked on my spreadsheet as bullpen game. So in bullpen game going up against Dylan Cease, I set the Dodgers at a minus 114 on the money line. Would be willing to lay up to a minus 113 there, plus 115 or higher. Looking at the Padres, and then set a total of an 8.7. 8.5 or less. I like the over, a 9 or higher to the under. Now for the LA Dodgers, if you look at their bullpen overall for the season, it's been about league average in terms of ERA. They're hovering right in that neighborhood of about like 19th with a 4.09 ERA. It's not great, it's not terrible, but now you've got Michael Kopech coming back in the fold, and Kirby Yates after they spent some time on the injured list. You got a long guy in Jack Dreher that I like. He's been able to supply a sub 3 ERA. I know that they're utilizing Ben Casparis as a little bit of starter as well. They could piggyback with him here. I doubt that we see him, but I mean, he's been able to do a nice job as well. You've got a few guys that are starting to step up and need to get a little bit more out of Tanner Scott, the closer. He has not been great, and I mean, speaking of not great, Dylan Cease with his 4.28 ERA, I do think that there's going to be positivity for him. Now, he has given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but when he faced off against the LA Dodgers last week, 11 punch-outs in 7 scoreless innings, 310 fielding dependent. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. He's giving you 11 strikeouts per 9. Like, he clearly has a good swing and miss stuff. It feels like he's just been the victim of batting average on balls in play being very, very much against him, as batting average on balls in play against him this year, 330. That is a massive outlier. That should be going, shall we say, downward. And for the San Diego Padres, they do a nice job of backing him up with a rock-solid bullpen. Recognize that Robert Suarez blew that save against the Arizona Diamondbacks a few days ago, but team is still number 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had the likes of Yuki Matsui along with Adrian Morejon, both give you a sub 3.4 ERA out of this bullpen as long guys. Jeremiah Estrada has been solid with a sub 3 ERA. Jason Adam, he's been able to get the job done time and time again. And for the San Diego Padres, it has been a little bit more muted in terms of the run scoring than what you'd expect. Padres right now hovering in that neighborhood of about 21st in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Now, have been a little bit better at home rather than on the road. They're only averaging 3.8 runs per game on the road, but you do have Manny Machado hitting well above a 300. He's been able to supply this team with 10 home runs. You do have a pair of guys north of 10 bombs, and Fernando Tatis Jr. along Gavin Sheets. Love what these guys have been able to bring to the table and provide, but you do need a little bit more power out of some of these more, shall we say, ancillary pieces. You have been able to have Jackson Merrill hit darn near 300 for this team, but I mean, you've got the likes of Brandon Lockridge out there in the outfield, Tyler Wade. They've been looking to mix and match here. Catcher spot has been rough, and Xander Bogaerts giving you only about a 315 on base, less than 5 home runs this season. that's been a little bit less than savory. And flip side, you've got yourself an LA Dodgers team that's a Death Star with regards to their lineup, north of 6.1 runs per contest, has been absolutely tremendous. And we'll say Jackson Merrill most likely going to be out for this game. That has been taken into account because he did land on the concussion IL. But that said, with regards to this LA Dodgers team, Shohei Ohtani doing Shohei Ohtani things, 25 plus home runs. Guy has been absolutely magnificent this season. You know what you're going to be able to get out of Andy Paz, Teoscar Hernandez, pair of guys with 12 to 13 home runs apiece, pair of guys hitting north of 265. Mookie Betts, after a little bit of a slow start to the season, he's picking it up. And then Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, getting jiggy with it, both giving you north of a 400 on base. So a very interesting circumstance here. I think that the Dodgers are going to do a nice job mixing and matching. Minus 113 or better, looking at their money line, plus 115 or higher. The Padres, and then in after less, like the over at 9 or higher. The under, 957, 958 on the card. The LA Angels on the road facing off against the New York Yankees, as Clark Schmidt is on the bump for the Yankees. Jose Soriano is on the bump for the Halos. Angels do find themselves anywhere between plus 168 to plus 180 underdogs. Minus $2, minus 210. That number on the Yankees, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And I'm going to be willing to take a shot on this over. I did set my total at 9.4, and I'm willing to take a shot on the Yankees on the run line. I was willing to lay up to a minus 114 with their run line. Currently, that initial FanDuel opener is minus 102. One doubt if I can get even money and perhaps even a little bit of plus money here, as Clark Schmidt has been about a league average pitcher. That's what he's been throughout his career. 3.60 ERA. Strikeout numbers are a little bit above league average, 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Walks are a little bit above league average as well, 3.9 walks per 9 innings, but lying a whole home, 1 home run allowed per 9 innings. And for the way that Clark Schmidt has been operating, I think pretty solid recently. 8 runs allowed over the course of his last 5 starts. Again, he's not knocking your socks off, but he's doing enough to be able to get the job done. And for Jose Soriano, very interestingly, he's been really good at keeping the ball in the yard. He's allowed 3 home runs in 79 and a third innings, but he's not doing anything else really well. Now, he did have this 12 strikeout game in his last start against the Athletics. That was really nice, but prior to that, 4 punch-outs or fewer in each of his previous 4 starts, 7.3 strikeouts of 4.4 walks per 9 innings, and very striking with regards to Mr. Soriano that he has performed so much better on the road rather than at home this season. At home, 4.88 ERA, has given up all 3 of his home runs at home, 48 innings of not allowing a home run on the road, but he is giving up darn near 4.3, 4.4 walks per 9 innings on the road, and only 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings on the road, 10.1 at home. So, yeah, those have been some very, very interesting splits, and now you face off against a New York Yankees team that's averaging darn near 5.5 runs per game at home. Completely shut down yesterday against the Boston Red Sox. That said, you've got a guy by the name of Aaron Judge. You know that he's not going to stay down for long. 473 on base, 25 plus home runs. Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, they're now both give you about a 325 on base. Solid power out of both of these guys. Ben Rice, Trent Grisham, 12 to 13 home runs apiece. Now Rice is now hitting at 227. You need him to move the line a little bit more. And this is a Yankees team that's starting to become a little bit more all or nothing. You do need Paul Goldschmidt to pick it up a little bit after he's been, shall we say, a little bit shaky at the plate over the last few weeks. And for the New York Yankees, this has been a bullpen that, without Luke Weaver, it's had its struggles. You've got Yuri De Los Santos, who's been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA, but Ian Hamilton has proven to be very untrustworthy. And you want to talk about untrustworthy, our good friend in Devin Williams, man, that's not been great to say the least. 5.68 ERA. Has he been a little bit better recently? Sure, but you didn't really have anywhere to go other than up. You've got Fernando Cruz, who's been able to give you about a 3.21 ERA in this bullpen, so he's been able to give you some nice innings along Tim L. Flip side for the LA Angels, there's really not a lot of bullpen pitching here. Bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Now, I will say, you've had Reed Detmers actually look a little bit better for this bullpen, and Hunter Strickland, somehow, someway, has actually been able to be okay for this team. So, you give a little bit of credit where it is due. You've got a few guys that have been able to progress a little bit, but these guys like Connor Brogdon, Brock and Roll Burke, Ryan Zephyrion, you go down the list, Hector Neris, if guys give you north of a 4.5 ERA, it is absolutely rampant. But what you do have with this Angels team is a team that is in the top 4 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat and a per game basis. Now, they're an all or nothing team, as they're in the bottom 4 in the big leagues with regards to their batting average as well. Taylor Ward, 18 home runs, but a 272 on base. Logan Hoppe, 14 home runs, 261 on base. Zach Neto has actually moved the line. He's hitting a 275 with a 317 on base, 10 home runs. Joe Adell, setting fire to the rain, 227 average, 13 home runs. Even Mike Trout, 11 home runs on a 220 average. So that's been very interesting to say the least. Luis Rengifo had a multi-home run game a few days ago, but still, 3 home runs at a 253 on base is just not going to cut it for this team. I do think that Clark Schmidt goes out there, dominates. He does give up probably a home run or two to the Angels, so semi-total 9.4. I like the run line of the Yankees, and I do like this total over as well. 959, 960 on the betting board. The Baltimore Orioles hit the road. They're facing off against the Tampa Bay Rays. We do know that it's going to be Ryan Pepiot on the bump for the Rays. Right now, it's to be determined on the bump for the Orioles, so this game is off the board, this should be Zach Eflin. And if it is Zach Eflin, I did set the Orioles as a underdog of a plus 152, and I'd be willing to lay up to minus 151 on the Rays, plus 153 or better, looking at the Orioles, and then set a total to where a 9 or less. I'm in on the over, a 9.5 or higher, the under. Now, there's a little bit of TBD really with this entire Orioles pitching staff, and if you do get a little bit of a switcheroony, it's really not going to be an upgrade for them, because with the Baltimore Orioles, I do believe that Zach Eflin is pretty much their best pitcher at this point, and for the Baltimore Orioles, they did have to utilize an opener for Cade Povich yesterday, so that was interesting. And for the Orioles, they're starting to get a little bit more online with regards to their offense. Gunnar Anderson, along with Jackson Holiday have both been able to hit north of 265. Both of these guys 8+ home runs apiece. And Gary Sanchez, who had a little bit of a rough start to the season, he had a grand slam yesterday coming off the injury list. That helps. Jordan Westberg is now back in the fold as well. These guys don't necessarily have impressive numbers, but we've seen what they've done in the past. Dylan Carlson, who spent a lot of time on the injury list, he's starting to come back. You've had Ryan O'Hearn be tried and true for this team, north of a 375 on base with 9 home runs thus far this season, so you do like to see that. So we'll see how the Orioles are able to function moving forward with regards to this offense, but still, they've been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. They've been a bottom 6 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, as they did have Scott Blewett not blow it for the team. They were actually able to get a really nice open out of him, and Brian Baker, Keegan Aiken have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Felix Bautista continues to be pretty reliable at the closer's role, and then you got guys like Yunier Cano, Matt Bowman, Sir Anthony Dominguez giving you north of 375 ERA. Yeah, just really rough appearances from a bunch of guys that they tried to mix and match with. Perez, who landed on the injured list. They were trying out there for a few games, like Brandon Young as well. They've really been trying to mix and match, so it's been not great to say the least. And for the flip side, you've got yourself a Tampa Bay Rays team that is always able to do an amazing job with their bullpen. They're back in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Had to use up Eric Orze yesterday, but he, Pete Fairbanks, Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, all being able to give you a sub 250 ERA, very rock solid. And other than Orze, they really didn't have to use up a lot of their trustworthy guys with the blowout yesterday of the New York Mets. And all of a sudden, Tampa Bay Rays starting to rise up into the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Junior Caminero, Brandon Lau, a combined 30 home runs between these two guys. Caminero not giving you a ton of on base at about a 290, but you know what? He's moving the line. Yandy Diaz, all of a sudden, he's hitting for north of 350 on base. He's up to 10 home runs. Now, the bottom of the lineup with the likes of Taylor Walls, the entire catcher spot with Danny Jansen and company, Christopher Morel, these guys hitting at 225 or lower. Cameron Misner have been a little bit rough, but Jose Calabrio, though he doesn't hit for power, 25 stolen bases, that's been one of the best marks in the big leagues. Jake Magnum is hitting at 3-hour with some stolen bases as well, so you do like to be able to see that. And Ryan Pepiot, he has not been blowing guys away. Career low, 7.5 or so strikeouts per 9 innings, and I do believe that there's going to be a little bit of regression to him from, but he's been able to do a nice job of just being able to go out there and hold down the fort in general for the team. As for Mr. Pepiot, he is only giving up right around about 2.6 walks per 9 innings. Has been along the deep ball, 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, so 331 ERA, 428 fielding dependent, but coming in on a really nice run, 5 runs allowed over the course of the last 4 starts. As a result, willing to lay up to minus 151 on this race. Money line plus 153 or higher. Looking at the Orioles, assuming that we do get Zach Eflin again, he is a guy that in Mr. Eflin, I do believe is actually their best starter, even though he's giving you absolutely no swings and misses whatsoever. That's just the Zach Eflin experience. Does a nice job with his command. Only 1.2 walks per 9 innings. Not clean enough. 1.2 walks allowed per 9 innings. 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. 6.1 punch-outs per 9. He has a 408 ERA with a 468 fielding independent, but is coming off of a pair of really nice starts, actually a trio of really nice starts where he gave up a combined 4 runs. So interesting spot here. At a 9 or less, I'd be looking at the over 9.5 or higher. The under, Rays from willing to lay up to minus 151 on, plus 153 or higher. Looking at the Orioles. 961, 962 on the card. The Seattle Mariners play host to the Boston Red Sox. Lucas Giolito is on the bump for the Sox, and you've got Logan Gilbert on the bump for the Mariners. Mariners do find themselves as favorites, anywhere between minus 158 to a minus 169. Very nice. Anywhere between plus 138 to a plus 145. Then over on Boston, 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 120, and the over is even. And right now we're seeing that initial opener at FanDuel being a run line price of a plus 125 on the Mariners. If we could get a plus 128 or higher, I'd be looking there, and we should be able to when it's all said and done. I will be probably landing on the Seattle Mariners on the run line. We just need to see a few more numbers come out on that front, but I should be able to land on that. With regards to the Seattle Mariners team, they are going to be welcoming back Logan Gilbert after nearly 2 months on the injured list. Last time he started was April 25th. Now, when he landed on the injured list, he was looking very rough. rock solid 2.35 ERA, and you know what you're going to get out of him. For his career, only hovering right around about 2 walks per 9 innings. He gives you 9 strikeouts per 9, and Logan Gilbert, time and time again, has been able to get the job done when he's been at home. You've got a lot of guys for this Mariners team that they just pitch so much better at home rather than on the road, because if you look at ballpark factors, Seattle is the most pitcher-friendly ballpark in all of baseball. Heck, even this year in his 5 starts at home, he was able to supply 2.10 ERA. Only had 1 road start, by the way, so there's that aspect of things. But you do have a guy in Lucas Giolito that should also be able to benefit a little bit from this ballpark factor, but guy has been rough this year, rocking a nice hearty 5.45 ERA. Feel depending more around a 4.54, but giving up 1.4 home runs to 3.2 walks per 9 innings. The 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, lowest it's been really since 2018, so hasn't been too great there. Now, I will say, coming off of giving up 0 or 1 runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts, I just still need to see it to believe it a little bit from this guy. 4 strikeouts or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. And with regards to Mr. Giolito, he is backed up by a Boston Red Sox lineup that does rank in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Took them a few games to be able to find their footing without having Alex Bregman in the fold, but you did have Rafael Devers give you 15 home runs, 4 on our base. As we know, he did get traded, but that said, you still have a bunch of rock-solid pieces alongside of Weiler Abreu in this lineup, who's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers as well. I mean, it's more of these ancillary guys that are stepping up for the team. Even though Roman Anthony hasn't been able to give you a ton since he got called up to the big league level, he's been able to just infuse a little bit of life into the team. You've got Abraham Toro along with Rami Gonzalez, both hitting north of 300. You've got Ceddanne Rafael all of a sudden moving line. Not a ton of power, and Christian Campbell's been rough this season, but he's looked a little bit better over last week. Trevor Story's looked a little bit better himself, but still 277 on base. You need to get a bit more out of him, but overall things are coming together for this Red Sox team, and Red Sox are a top 10 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Do I think that that's going to be long-lasting? I do not. Aroldis Chapman has been amazing this year, a sub-2 ERA, still getting 12 strikeouts per 9 innings at his advanced age. Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, Luis Guerrero have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Garrett Whitlock is down there as well. Garrett Whitlock had a relatively rocky start to the season. He's now been rock solid in this bullpen, and for the Seattle Mariners, after they had a really bad series like 2 weeks ago against the Minnesota Twins, they've been able to find their footing as well. Matt Brash has been absolutely tremendous for the team. He has not allowed an earned run since coming off the injury list. Then you've got Jackson Kowar, Andres Munoz, both being able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Gabe Spire has been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. Now you do have the likes of Edward Brazzardo, Casey Lugamina. They have been a little bit hit or miss for this team, so that has been a little bit of an issue, but I do think that for Seattle, they're going to be able to do a nice job of being able to put bat to ball. Now, Cal Raleigh has been slowing down a little bit with regards to the power. Going into the day on Sunday, it went about a week without a home run, but still, when you're supplying 26 home runs overall for the season, you're providing north of a 350 on base, you're certainly doing your part. J.P. Crawford has been able to give this team darn near 400 on base. He had himself a massive home run yesterday, I believe in grand fashion, and then you've got Julio Rodriguez starting to pick it up. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of bombs along Ore Polanco. Both of these guys hitting between about a 260 to a 270. Rowdy Tellez, double-figure amount of homers. No average, no on-base percentage whatsoever, but you know what? He's been able to give you a little bit of power, so you'll give him that as well. And for Boston, I do think that they're going to be able to get to Logan Gilbert a little bit here. I think that the Mariners get to Lucas Giolito as well. Plus 127 or higher, looking at that Mariners run line, and I do like this total over some. I tell it at 8.1, and wrap things up with 963 and 964 on the betting board. The Houston Astros are going to be on the road facing off against the Athletics. It's old undecided for the Athletics. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. So this game is off the board, and Lance McCullers Jr. is on the bump for the Houston Astros. Now it should be J.P. Sears going for the Athletics, as right now with the Athletics, they've just been trying to keep their pitching rotation a mystery, even though we all sort of know what it's going to be. And I'm thinking that it's going to be Mitch Spence because he last pitched on Tuesday, and they're working him back into the starting rotation. As a result, I set the Astros at a minus 164 on the money line. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 108 with regards to this run line, and then maybe my total at 10.2 at 10 or less. I'll be looking at the over 10.5 or higher, the under, and with regards to the Athletics, I would need at least plus 165 to take a shot here. Now, I saw one or two places it might be J.P. Sears. Would be very similar if it's going to be J.P. Sears instead of Mitch Spence. Both of these guys are, well, let's call it what it is, pretty similar pitchers. For Spence, he's actually provided a 3.67 ERA this year, a little bit more of a strikeout guy than J.P. Sears. 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings out of Sears. For Spence, about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. Fielding independent is starting to be a little bit more even-steven, though, because with Spence, he does give up closer to about 3 walks per 9 innings. Sears really doesn't walk guys. He gives up less than 2 walks per 9 innings, and I will say for Sears, he's given up 15 home runs at 72 and 2/3 innings, but do you think that there's going to be positivity here? But reason why it's so similar is that all these pitchers for Sacramento are really, really struggling at home. Like, my goodness, Sacramento has become a bandbox for all these guys. Like, JP Sears has a 6 ERA at home. Mitch Spence has 6.16 ERA at home. Both of these guys are giving up the deep ball. Both of these guys are getting tattooed. And for the A's, this team is right now dead last in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You just look at all these guys, and it's just a whole bunch of gas cans coming in trying to hold down the fort for this team. At home and home alone, you've got so many guys that are right now rocking a north of 5 ERA. That's not even funny. Mason Miller's actually down to a 4.50 ERA when he's at home, so yay, verily there. And you've had Hogan Harris actually give you a sub-4 ERA when he's at home as well. But Osvaldo Bido, who they've been looking at as a little bit of a long guy, north of a 6 ERA at home. You just have not been able to get good innings whatsoever. These like mix and match guys like they were trotting out there. Noah Murdoch for a little bit of time. They've been trying to look to Grant Holman a little bit. He's been rocking now about a 5 or so ERA as well. So it's been all sorts of rough there. But for the Athletics, you do have a team that's able to do a nice job of slugging the ball. Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom combined 29 home runs this season, both give you north of a 340 on base. Jacob Olsen, all of a sudden starting to draw walks, entered into Sunday, 367 average. He has been tremendous. The lineup has taken a little bit of a setback with Shea Langoliers being on the injured list. They should be getting him back relatively soon. His 10-day injured list is coming up soon, but you've been having a little bit of issue with Miguel Andujar as well being on the injured list, but Luis Arias has stepped up in his place, been able to give you about a 340 on base. And for the Houston Astros, this has been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of run production and runs per game, but you know what? You've got Isaac Paredes really starting to step up. 15 home runs, north of 350 on base. Jose Altuve starting to look like the Jose Altuve of old. 275 average, 10 home runs. Jeremy Pena, Christian Walker, 9 home runs apiece now. Walker, along with Yandy Diaz, both are right around about a 275 on base. You need a little bit more there, but you've had Cam Smith step up a little bit. Not a ton of power, but now give you about a 330 on base. You need more out of Mauricio Dubon at 266 on base with no power. It's just not cutting it. And Yordan Alvarez being on the injured list has obviously hurt this team. And for the Astros, this has been a very supreme bullpen, as you've got the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu. You're able to throw in there Bennett Sosa, Sean Dubin, Josh Hader. All these guys give you a sub-3 ERA, and I do think that for the Astros, they're starting to really get a little bit more out of Lance McCullers Jr. First few starts coming out the injured list, it was rough for him to say the least, but you take a look at what he's been able to do recently, and it's starting to come into form. The strikeout numbers are really good, as he's been able to give you well north of 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. 5 walks per 9 innings is the issue. Did give up 4 runs in his last start against the Chicago White Sox. Prior to that, he had given up a combined 7 runs over the course of his previous 4 starts, so it's going to be still a little bit touch and go. Actually faced off against the A's at home earlier in the season. 12 punch outs and 3 runs allowed in 6 innings, so I think that he's going to yield some runs. I certainly think that Spence and that bad bullpen of the A's going to as well. So 10 or less, looking at the over 10 or for the under, with the Astros willing to lay up to a minus 108 on that run line, plus 165 or higher. Looking at the Athletics, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Matt Josephs, aka Mid-Major Matt, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.